you.
What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
He is the president. He is, so they don't feel as though there is this connection to me being empowered to do anything.
Right.
I'm just happy for him.
He's empowered.
That's what they're saying. That's
Salim.
what I'm getting from them, and that's what I'm saying.
Well, I think there may be
on that level.
Yes,
I'm not sure of this, because this is not my area of expertise, but there may be some psycho-socio benefit that the black community gains from his symbolic ascendance. The feeling that we can do more, blah blah blah. There's no limits, as he pointed out, and that's important for us to understand, that we have the capacity to do whatever we need to do if we understand it enough and take the steps necessary to do it. But I think what Pat talks about is people are inspired. This offers an opportunity for those activists and organizers to utilize that inspiration to force a more progressive agenda on the national level. And I think that the current situation allows that to be acted upon with more vigor than usual.
One last question maybe two last questions before I take the phones. Calm down. Barack Obama becoming president, I say this on my YouTube pieces, is the apex of integration, or integrationist. It doesn't get any better than the black president. People who are biracial, people who are integrationists, they are just falling in the streets. They're like, I wasn't going to say orgasmic response, but it's pretty close. It's unbelievable. But this is the ultimate end of is this the end of integration as we know it? I mean, he's president. What do we do now? Or is it the end of black nationalism, meaning that you got your black president? There's no more excuses. We don't want to hear about your ghetto life and I'm poor black kid in the hood. So do the integrationists and the black nationalists, the Pan-Africans, do we have to change our game?
What game?
The game of we have to approach. Okay, remember this is the post-black era. You know that. This is the post-black era. Do we have to change? That's what I'm saying. Do we have to change our approach, especially when we talk to children? Like when I go to public schools, I tell the children, listen here, racism exists, it's institutionalized, the crack cocaine, the whole that. We understand all of that, but they don't want to hear that. So we can't forget that racism is still among us, but we got to go beyond it at the same time.
I don't think
you
we're
understand
going
what
to
I'm saying?
forget, because every day you go out, the police are still doing the same thing. Okay, you go to the same stores.
But they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear those excuses no more. They don't want to hear it no more.
But what I'm saying is the reality of it is people are still faced with reality.
Okay.
And they, on one hand, understand their condition at this point is still the same. But they can go look at TV, turn on the news, CNN or whatever, read a paper, and it's kind of like, even though it's a reality that he's a president, but for many it's a fairy tale, because it's a virtual experience or vicarious experience. It's not your experience, but you were living during that time. You don't have to read it from a historical or history. You can say, look, I was there. You know where I was when. So that to me might be the extent of it for a lot of people. But what Salim says in terms of those of us who've attempted to be out here to organize and because see, I've had the opportunity to talk internationally 3 times since the election via some UN situations, because we got people coming in. And so I wanted to know, how was this being viewed? And the individuals that I was speaking with are African. They're very excited, of course, because of their kinship.
Yes.
Personal. Then internationally, how does this impact upon America internationally? Okay, that's another level. That's another level. So I think this is dealt with on different levels. You can only deal with it based on your experience and where your head is. You can't leave where you never been and all that. So I think the people on the street have one perception, and those who are organizing and little political animals or big political
and those in the rarefied air
have another perception, and then others.
Well, I know what you're talking about, though, Mark, because I teach a class on race in the media, and for the last 2 semesters since Barack has gained national prominence, a lot of the students have been asking this question. If you have a black president, does racism still exist? Can you still say that this is a racist country, or a country that benefits from white supremacist attitudes and biases? And so it has forced me to be a little bit more clinical in my descriptions of how that racism impacts people. But it doesn't change, and in fact, it may offer another opportunity for more nuanced discussion of this. In the same way that I talked about earlier, how Barack's ancestry impacts this, because it's really not so much race that's our problem in this country, it's the ramifications of slavery. The fact that slavery was a race-based institution, and it required other institutions to accommodate it. That's the problem.
But can you separate it?
No, at this point in this country, you
Right,
can't.
right.
But that's the point. That's how it offers you an opportunity to discuss this in a much more nuanced manner with students. You know?
The callers at home would probably say that, you know, as we move away from slavery, away from segregation, that race, the significance of race continues to decline, and class is continuing to trump race more and more every day. You would agree with that? Class
I think
is
the more
trumping race?
ahistorical people become, the more race is replaced with something else. When I say race, the impact of racism or white male supremacy, because that still is the key. Remember now, there was a white woman who was running too.
I understand. Yeah.
And on both sides, Democrats and a white female for vice president. A male Trump, not to say that Barack is in there, but a male Trump who was accepted by white men. Who's his vice president? Who did he go pick? He didn't go pick a brother. So the point that I'm making is there's still, and look at the cabinet picks so far. Look at the transition team and who they're advising him on. So I think we can do it visually. He's the black person. But right now, the key people, who's his chief of staff? So the key people are not, I mean, every day, because everybody's sitting there. They're sitting there saying, when is the brother going to get picked? When is the brother going to get picked? You know, and they're joking. Oh, they're going to build a basketball court in the White House? Because that was one thing they kept letting you know. And then he relaxed on it. Like, he go to play basketball, which I was talking about the identity crisis. And they going like, well, maybe that's his golf. You know, I'm trying to say, is that his golf? Because, you know, I'm an athlete. And so, well, used to be. So the point that I'm making is that there's still too many things there to indicate that you have to deal with race, because racism is still in your face.
William Julius Wilson wrote that book, Declining Significance of Race. That was his point, that class was becoming more significant. And in some ways, I must admit, I was surprised by the way class trumped race in this election. I thought that McCain's race-baiting tactics would be effective and would pull white voters away from Barack near the end of the campaign, but it didn't work. Their economic distress was enough to force them to seek, you know, some change. And so maybe class is more important. I mean, it adds another level of evidence to this discussion that we've been having for so long, whether class is more important than race. And
I think it would have been a different outcome in a way had the economy not done what it did right after the primary, because up to that point, the war was the issue.
Right.
And that made to me, that gave Americans a more, it gave you a image of having a conscience and all of that. And then they flipped the script on you and orchestrated this thing, and everybody's focus changed, and you went back to, I got to protect my stuff. And it kind of
But it helped Barack, though.
Yeah, if it wasn't for this economic collapse, he may have not have won.
Well, it was close anyway in the popular vote. He won the right states to kill him on the electoral process.
But if we didn't have the economic collapse,
I
capitalism is
believe that.
basically collapse.
So that leads one to believe, was that
orchestrated.
Well, we don't get all that. Let's take a phone. Now we can take phone callers. Caller, you're on Viewpoint Live.
Yes, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Yeah, from my point of view, having worked on a job at Capitol in Springfield, I fed Obama breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And seeing him in person, talking to him, I always had being around like a divine, it was like the creative spirit said to me, this man is going to be president. And this was back in mid-90s, early mid-90s.
Sir, I hate to cut you off. I don't want a long speech. Do you think things are going to be better in America because Barack Obama is president?
Well, I still think he takes orders like every other president from the Illuminati, Bilderberg, people like that. Even though Oprah financed a lot and people usually they finance you, like the Teachers Association financed Bill Clinton $25 million, and they said, well, we want to make choices. We got to say so because we gave you the most money. We financed you back to us.
Oh, okay.
I think things will be the same, but there'll be little changes that they allow him to make that would be of benefit to us as a whole.
I agree totally. I'm sorry to cut you off because I don't want a long speeches, no life stories. We got another phone call on the phone, Bill?
Well, you got a rarefied audience, man. Bilderberg.
Yeah, I know the Bilderberg. I love the conspiracy theory. You got another phone call? No?
Hello?
Go right ahead, sir. Welcome, Viewpoint Live.
All right, I got a couple of points I want to make.
Please keep it short. No life stories.
It will be short and concise.
Okay, cool.
First, I want to